we're live. Welcome back to the Mayor's Update with our Mayor, Mayor Joe Preston. And Mayor Joe, we have some special guests with us tonight. We have Ginny,
very special, yes,
and Don Trepanier, and they run two organizations now in St. Thomas, which are pretty special. First off is the Grace Cafe, and the second one, which people have been hearing about but probably want to know more about, is the Annex. So without further ado, I want to bring them onto our stage here.
Wow, fantastic. Ginny, Don, thank you for joining us today. It is great to have you. We certainly talk a lot about you on previous shows and in a lot of our social media pieces here in St. Thomas. And I wanted people to get to know you or to meet you if they haven't, or at least be able to ask you questions if they want. But Ginny, I'll start off. Let's start really. The Grace Cafe has been around for more than a decade. Am I right?
No, 7 years.
7 years.
Yep, going into 8.
Okay. And what prompted the beginning of Grace Cafe?
I was the kitchen queen at the Teen Challenge Farm for 8 years, 2 months, 11 days, 42 minutes. Yeah, it was a life experience, and even to now, I miss those guys.
Well, a special place. I've had the opportunity to visit it more than once, and I'll tell you the miracles that are worked out at Teen Challenge, and the great teamwork there is there. I see where you got the abilities you have. So way to go.
It was good training. Yeah. So then one day I'm driving along on St. George and I'm looking at a bunch of empty buildings and I'm thinking, I could open a soup kitchen. And I went, what? I don't have any money. How could I do that? But we did it. And
well, name me a rich soup kitchen, by the way. Yeah. They all started, and many of those great endeavors in our communities start with the thought, not with the funding. Or even maybe started with the need and then went to the thought and then went to the funding. But you've been very good at putting it all together. We speak highly of you to other groups that are trying to do what our city's doing too, and that we couldn't do it with just government funding. It just isn't possible or proper, probably. And you really, without I won't say without our help, because there's lots of prayers that go your way, but Grace Cafe fills a need in our community, and that otherwise might not be filled or would be filled 5 other ways.
Yeah. So. It's amazing what goes on early mornings. At 5 in the morning, there's people walking around and desperate for coffee, and I'm handing coffee out at 6 in the morning and goodie bags. And then we open at 7, and we go right on into that. So
and
early morning is a whole deal.
Very early morning through just before lunch. You're feeding the crowd that sleeps precariously in a lot of cases, or need friends in the same time frame, and it really makes a difference. I'll ask you if of the number of people that come to Grace Cafe each day, and if you have an average number, share with us. But they're not. This isn't the homeless. There are people who are not housed that come to your place, but many are either less housed or just really want to get out.
I am just perishing to tell you this. There are so many categories aside from homeless. There's people who are lonely. One man said to me, I have a room and I have some food, but I'm so lonely. And he came and just hung out with us for years. There's people who are scared. We're all going to die. Well, that's true, but not today, and not because you don't have coffee. And so we kind of minimize that, come on in and get warm. Then there's people who are just poor. They just either can't manage money or they never had any, and they're just in need. And then there are mentally challenged, physically challenged. There's just a whole lot of people that has nothing to do with homeless necessarily, although certainly homeless people and anybody hungry can always come to the cafe.
Well, and I guess that's what I was going to say, is it's a 100% you're welcome.
Yeah.
And if you have a need, Grace Cafe will try to fill it, whether it is coffee at 5 o'clock in the morning, or an extra scarf because it was a little colder last night, or the friendship, loneliness, the group therapy that happens also at Grace Cafe. So
we want it to be cozy. That's why we've gone to such decorating lengths here to make it comfy. We have comfy chairs, and they are highly prized and sought at, and curling up and snoozing, and you know, fun. And fun.
Oh, there's favorite chairs. The mayor didn't know he has to get there early to get the favorite chair.
You'll have to come and try them out.
Yes. Well, Ginny knows. We had a lot of conversations, certainly through the first bit of COVID, because they generally classified Grace Cafe as a restaurant.
Yeah,
and it is not one. And Grace, Ginny and I have been certainly discussing that loudly with those that we could, and now it's fixed. It is a social kitchen, or whatever it's called.
Essential service. Essential
service, of course, so that we can continue to do this. Suggesting Grace Cafe is a restaurant is like suggesting our shelter is a hotel. I mean,
that's right.
Yes, they both have people sleep in them, right? And so we've made it now where the great job that Grace Cafe does can be done at all. And I'm just so super impressed when I go there, obviously with the guests and the love a lot of them have for each other, but the volunteer team. Right? I mean, look, I'm the mayor. I know a few people around town, and some of the very best ones volunteer at the Grace Cafe,
and have for years. I mean, we've still got people from the very beginning that are still volunteers.
Yeah,
it's great. And they're dedicated. They get nothing out of it. Nobody gets paid at the cafe.
Oh, they get something out of it,
including me. Nobody gets paid. No.
Yeah. I agree. They don't do it for the love of profit. They do it for the love of mankind, and making community be a community instead of a place. So we really thank you. And look, Stephanie is not within hearing distance tonight, but every time I see you, you offer me cake. Okay,
it's always open.
Never in front of Stephanie again. No, it's. But that's it. It's also a place of small celebrations, great big celebrations in a lot of ways. But people matter to you, and I'm thankful we have you as part of our community. It's what does Grace Cafe need from St. Thomas? Because I don't ever want to not have Grace Cafe in St. Thomas, or from the people of St. Thomas.
We were so richly blessed at Christmas. My goodness, we were blown out of the water. And I'm just waiting for March, when we're still into some really bad months. What we really need is, I think we've got maybe 2 pairs of gloves left, mitts. That's it. Yeah. People lose them all over the place, and then they're wet and they throw them away. And I mean, it's challenging. We've got lots of socks, but not mitts.
You and I know when our gloves get wet, I get to take them home and put them on the heater. All right. Then I have them again tomorrow. Many of the people we're dealing with at Grace Cafe and some of the other places in town, that's not possible. I'm not certain I want to carry around wet gloves in my pockets all day, hoping I'll find a place I can dry them. So I guess I see the need and know why we do it. Ginny, how many people approximately each day? And during COVID, has it increased, stayed about the same?
Even with the opening 24/7, our numbers are pretty solid. We are, if we could have everybody in at the same time, we would be absolutely stacked. We're serving between 70 to 100 in a 5-hour stretch. And on Saturdays, it's more. People are nuts for Saturdays because it's
the great biggie brunch on Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody loves breakfast. Yeah.
So. Okay,
and then we had our Valentine's celebration on Saturday, and it was huge. It really was. And now we're working.
What do you do special? What was more special about Valentine's Day?
The perfume table.
Yeah.
the famous perfume table. And I tell you, we've got loads of shampoos and lotions and hair products and perfume and makeup. And everybody gets a little basket, and you can go and pick 10 items out, and they're all good and they're all fresh. And I have to tell you, there are squeals.
Oh, I haven't seen this since
squeals of joy, and they go out with a big bag full of things as well as food. It's a special menu too.
Well, and I wanted to share that a bit. But first of all, has life at the Grace Cafe changed much during COVID? I know at the beginning there was the real hard to stay open piece, but
there's a lot of anger. There's a lot more anger than there used to be, and a lot more aggression. And yeah, definitely there is. Over minor issues that you wouldn't think would bother anybody, but all of a sudden, you've got a firefight. Yeah.
And well, look, and I'll agree with you. And Graydon and I have talked about that here on Mayor's Update. People are I'll forgive them because they may be just a little bit scared because it's COVID, but rudeness has become almost a way of communicating.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't like it that way either, right? So, what do you do to contain that? It's just more being kind to people, and they are kind back, but some just
no, not actually. You really do have to talk it down and find out what actually occurred there, and you are not coming in again because you're not going to be mean to my volunteers. Right. So we need to talk about what bothered you that time, and then sometimes we can get closure on it, and sometimes we cannot. But we work it through, and if you cannot be nice to us, then that's okay. We will still feed you. We'll give you food out the door and coffee and anything else that you might need, but you cannot be mean to the volunteers or anyone else in here.
Yeah, and I've seen that. I've seen it happen, and certainly we've discussed it. But you don't say no to anybody. You just say, "Here's your bag to go today.
Yeah,
here's some extra stuff in here for you. Yeah. Let's talk about this so that the next time you're in, it works, not the other way."
And it has happened, but then there are times when it reverberates around again, and they're mad all over again, and then we have to go through it again because it really needs to be a lesson for us all. And there's just certain rules. No F word. It's really kind of cute because when I hear the F word, I say, "Wait a minute, language." And
everybody
then I hear,
stop. Oh, I have to do that with council every so often. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
Oh, they know it slipped out, right?
Yeah. Did I say that? Oh, no.
Yeah. It's street language, but not at Grace Cafe.
Not there, no.
Dawn, tell us a little bit about the Annex. And maybe almost no one knows what the Annex is. So maybe give us the startup history and how it's heading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations, before I start, congratulations on your success in getting the inn started. We congratulate you and Lori and so many people who were involved in this project. It was very much needed in this city, and we're just so happy, and we glory with all of you with this success.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a big group.
Yes, I can imagine. In fact, how the Annex started was really kind of born out of a desire to take the Grace Cafe to the next level. We just felt somewhat unsatisfied, noticing, the amount of addiction in the city.
It's not enough.
And we just felt, that there wasn't. That we weren't doing enough through the cafe, and so we were kind of wondering.
First of all, don't ever think that. Don't ever think you're not doing enough.
No, well, we're very impassioned about helping, especially people caught in addictions. I've been, I and still am the chief program officer for Teen Challenge Canada, and have been dealing with addictions now for 23 years. And so I'm particularly sensitive to addiction wherever it is. And the question that I always, whenever I see it and encounter it or become aware of it, is what can be done? What can the Grace Cafe do? So basically over the last fall, we were kind of commiserating around, next steps. And we were sitting at a breakfast one day, and all of a sudden I felt compelled to tell Ginny of a storefront where we could have we could actually address addictions visibly to those who need it, but to have a venue for people to come in, a very safe place to talk about steps out of addiction. And that was the compelling vision, is to be a place that could, in a safe place, and a place to help people take, next steps, whatever that is. Whether it's, talking about counseling, talking about pain and trauma, talking about the history, your current history, what it is that you are currently involved in terms of addiction, but also addressing helping to address the harms around addiction and the lifestyle, but also helping them to deal with all of the other ramifications of a lifestyle, either in on the street or in private around addictions. There's legal issues, there's mental health issues, there's so many other issues that we felt we could help them with. And so we kind of put this together very quickly, and we brought it to our board. They loved the idea, and within literally a few days, we went to the empty storefront next door, met the owner, signed the lease, and here we are launching this, or kind of taking a dive in the deep end of the pool here. So it's kind of a social experiment for us. It's we're piloting this project. But we have all the I guess the optimism of success for this, what we believe is a needed facility in St. Thomas.
Oh, is it ever needed? I've been quite friendly poking 2 or 3 ministers of the provincial government for a couple of years now to say, we can't solve this just by treating people well. It's a good thing that we treat people well and that we're friendly, and we recognize that there's things we can do to fix, but that's not the solution from an addiction or even a crisis mental health point of view. That we have to have. Well, look, you're both from have been involved in the Teen Challenge piece, and nobody maybe does it better there than there, but. When someone is ready to address their addiction problem, there better be a solution that second in front of them.
Yeah.
And this is the mayor knows nothing about this, saying this, right? And we have to have in place, first of all, the ability to detox and graciously accept someone who wants to work on an addiction problem. And then the whole long or short rehab process it may take for that person. So the Annex is committing to doing that in St. Thomas.
Also paying for the rehab and detox and anything else that isn't required in the mix of this. People keep wanting to do it, but then they lose the connection. I dropped my phone in the toilet. My boyfriend stole it. And then they've lost it totally, and they go back to what they were doing and forget all about it.
But Ginny, Don, you'll both hopefully agree with this statement that sometimes it takes more than once too. It is not easy just to completely change your life. Sometimes just in 1 minute. Now it starts, but the sometimes it's let's try this again later. Then, right? Well, so we're expecting then that the Annex will be a place that people can just knock on the door and say, I think I'm ready, or I'd like to talk about my addiction and to find out if I'm ready.
Well, one of the nice things about the Annex that we see is that it complements the Grace Cafe. So it's the Grace Cafe is an opportunity for us to introduce ourselves, to bring the idea that that our solutions are many solutions to addictions. Not just one. But there's certainly help for them, and there's no reason why you have to be caught in a lifestyle of addiction. We're wanting to make sure that people have awareness of the options, and when we talk about treatment and recovery, there's a huge spectrum of options available, and it starts with detox at one end and harm reduction. Certainly abstinence is the ultimate goal, but whatever people are prepared to consider, we're there to help. And we want to make sure that they have choices, that they have opportunity. We're going to be providing a couple computers in the annex for people who don't have access to the internet to use the internet, to be able to receive emails, and we're going to set up email accounts for them so that they can engage with organizations, agencies, if they've got legal issues that they're dealing with. I mean, those kinds of things that all have to be kind of wrapped up around trying to provide the opportunity for them to perhaps consider an in-residence rehabilitation program, whether it's a short-term or medium-term or long-term. So we're there to facilitate and make aware. That's what we're really going to be focused on. Also,
it's going to be super cozy and comfy, but not so nuts with animals and wonkiness, because the cafe is for fun and that sort of thing. But this is a more serious thing. So it's going to be nice and comfy. They won't have any reason to fear. There will be coffee and donuts, but not food, just, to make everybody feel relaxed. And
you have to want to start this process. And by making that comfort, you're really helping with that. And you're right. The other one is more of a sustainability life with Grace Cafe. And now the annex, you're making the mayor smile, is a way of helping us correct some people's life with their willingness, with their comfort to do so.
There's a couple things I want to add, Mayor. The one thing is that the annex will be providing accredited addictions counseling.
Good.
So we're going to do outpatient counseling, free of charge. That's something that is going to be the heart and soul of what the annex will do. But the other piece about addictions that we sometimes forget about is that addiction very much is in secret. We have the obvious people that we can identify as those struggling with addiction on the street, part of the homeless community. But there's so many people, in housing, in poverty, in various other environments that are caught in addictions and aren't able to do anything about it because it's not known to the community. So it's going to be an outreach to the community to have people who have maybe never considered that there's hope and freedom for them.
A question just came from one of our viewers today too that said, "What happens to people on the street that won't take the help?" They named somebody's been on the street for quite some time. But how do we help that person?
Well, if you know anything about stages of change, you'll know that the very first step in stages of change is admitting that you have a problem, and everybody's heard that before. But that's certainly very much part of the necessary step towards taking the inevitable steps towards getting some help. In fact, the help itself is step number 4, and there's 3 steps in front of that people have to acknowledge and go through in order to actually have that help. People on the street very much who are caught in addictions generally are not thinking about getting out of addiction. They're just thinking about, where's my next hit going to come from, or where's my next fix, or where am I going to sleep tonight? So it's very short-term thinking. They're not planning ahead. If you were to sit down and talk with them, they would probably start to acknowledge, I've been kind of caught in addiction, and it's not very nice coming off of my high, and when I'm detoxing, I'm certainly not feeling very good, and so that propels someone to continue to use or abuse. But it's a difficult thing to do, to get someone who is actively using to then start going down stage 1, 2, and 3 to get help.
Other than saying thank you about 1,000 times, what I guess I have two questions for us to kind of finish up with today. Is we've just started talking, and I've got a million more questions, and I believe other people would too. If people have questions about how they can help, or how can they help, would be my other question. How do they reach out?
Well, the way I hear this over and over again from so many different walks of life, but we all know people who are caught in addiction, or people who are struggling or starting to walk down that path of getting caught in addiction. We all know somebody there. The way that people can help is to get that person who they know, who they love, who is their neighbor or their friend, to get connected with us. That's how they can help. The thing that we are going to be doing is going to be fairly specialized in nature. We need to know, how to do that. But what we desperately want to have is that connection, that opportunity to connect with somebody who may not ever have considered that they have an issue or that they need to have. So that's how people can help. That's answers your question number one.
Well, that's how we get the people who we want to help to come.
Yes.
How do we sustain the Annex and Grace Cafe? Ginny, you said so many people helped over Christmas that you're still in great shape, but that isn't year round. There is times when there's more needs for certain things, and you let us know, and we try to share what the needs are. But how can we help with the Annex from a financial point of view? Or it's probably not so much of a volunteer opportunity, except perhaps maybe some people with lived experience who are now trained to do it. But
all the things that were given to us at Christmas will be gone in about 3 or 4 weeks. So
right.
We will need some supplies at that point, but we really are not in the habit of asking. It is amazing. Right. People come through the door and they give me money, and I say to them, do you want a tax receipt? They say no. I say, how do you know I'm not going to spend this on pedicures? And they say, well, you deserve it. I say, no, I need to stop it.
Well, I hadn't thought of that, but
I need to give you a tax receipt. People do this all the time. We do not ask, but they are doing it because they like the work, and they want to help, and they can't be frontline. Everybody cannot be frontline. So they do what they can. And sometimes it's money. We can't take food made in your grandmother's kitchen.
No, that doesn't work
I'm sure
anywhere.
It's delicious. Yeah. I'm sure that she made the best cookies on the planet, but we can't take them unless they are made in an authorized kitchen. So it's a complex world. But I'm blogging on Facebook now for 7 years. I've never missed a day. And so if I need something, I mention it. And again, I'm saying tonight, we need mitts and gloves. Really bad.
And I'm with you. So I try to, whenever I see an ask from you and even some of the others groups in town, there's some great food groups out there, but I like to share. And so I just try to share those responses so that we can get the numbers up of people who see it. And then Graydon and I thought, what a perfect way to use Mayor's Update as a way of letting people ask questions about something they may know nothing about, but also let them know how they can best help. And I agree with you. In a lot of the cases of the groups in our community, the financial assistance helps the most. There is physical donations, and the Caring Cupboard, the food bank, and the food group that Kathy Grundon has. There's a bunch of others that are working hard. But a little money to help do those jobs helps a lot more, because you can then get what you needed that day rather than set it aside on a shelf to use it in 3 months when you did need whatever that product was, or gloves or socks or all of a sudden it's warm. Where's the t-shirts, right? So
that's right. Into shorts. People are donating really sweetly, but all the wrong things. We cannot store piles of shorts until the summer. It's darling of them, but please, guys, when you're donating, could you stick to hoodies and stuff like that for the winter?
Right. It's probably going to be used today or tomorrow. Think that way when you're donating, right?
That's right.
Because there is a lot. So look, I thank you both for coming and sharing this. And I know I'm going to want to do this again at some point. But the other thing is, the more you can teach the mayor, the more he goes out and talks to a lot of people, because he doesn't know till he learns. And so I'll have a whole new story tomorrow. So please keep us and
well, come and get cake.
I know, come and get cake.
Okay.
No, I just have, before you guys go, I have one follow-up question here that kind of is a takeoff on one of the questions that came in the chat. And it's a question about faith. And does your choice to serve have roots in your faith?
You bet.
Yeah.
Major. But we are not pushy about it. It's not a case of, if you don't read your Bible, you can't have a cookie. I mean, it's not like that. What happens is, if I hear somebody in need and I'm walking around the tables talking to people and they have a court case coming up or a serious doctor appointment or something like that, I will quietly ask them if they'd like me to pray for them. And then we will go apart a little bit and I will pray for them. But if they say, no, this is your personal choice, go ahead. I'll pray for you anyway. Nya, nya.
I love it.
Somebody who passed away about a year ago, he said to me, I'm not going to ask you to pray. You're going to do it anyway, aren't you? And I said, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it hurts at all. It's kind of my method, too, to have that kind of private conversation with someone a little stronger than me before we make decisions to move forward.
So let me invite everyone who's listening to come and visit and have a walkthrough, but not all at once, please. We have rules.
And not at 5 a.m. when we're just getting the coffee started.
And Don wants to chip in here.
Go ahead, Don.
For Graydon, for your question about faith, for me, faith is why we do what we do, but not what we do.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, Don, because
I love it.
We have a couple of other faith-based organizations in our community who do great work, and I don't want them ignored just because they have a good belief. So thank you for sharing that part too. Look, thanks for making Mayor's Update extra special this week. Great. This has been just great, and I'm serious. You have my phone too. Just let me know if there's something that I need to help with.
Okay.
I have some connections. I don't have anything, the abilities, but I have some connections. So please let us know, and we'll get the word out there too.
Okay. And if we can share anything, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Grace.
It's been a real pleasure.
You.
God bless.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Well, that was just incredible. It warms my heart that we have people like that in our community.
Well, it helps me with my belief in this community. I know these groups are out there, whether it's the great work of Ginny and Don, but what Lori's been doing at the inn, or what Central United Church did, just letting the inn be there for as long as they were. Or there is a pile of great things happening in our community, and I get asked. So the people call me, you're the mayor, you seem to be involved in some of this stuff. What should I do? I'd like to really go out and volunteer at kind of one thing, or I always suggest, well, donate first. Get your money in work if you can, and if you can't, and you need to pass the time, do the time of the support, then I'll give as many suggestions as I possibly can. I try to ask, would helping with the food bank, maybe delivery or what else would be best for you. So I'm glad we're able to do that today, Graydon. This was really quite special over the last couple of weeks, talking about the opening of the inn. And now I think there truly is a great number of people in this community had no idea what Grace Cafe does, or how it helps. And now with the addition of the Annex, we've shared tonight another great thing happening in our community. This is the great saving of people, whether it's feeding them, clothing them, or helping them with mental health or addictions problems. We win as a community. We win as a society if we all think those are the right things to fix.
Absolutely. And like Faye's mentioning in the comments, most people probably don't know that the Grace Cafe is feeding 70 to 75 to 100 people every day in our community.
And we
You know,
do
they
our just-in-time inventory. We've talked about it on here. We know how many homeless people there are in St. Thomas, and that number is greater than that. So isn't it special to know? Look, we're not putting a tag on people as to why we need to help them, and in some cases, it's 75 people in Grace Cafe, and 10 of them are there just because the other people are there. It's the conversation. It's the meeting of friends. So happy we're able to share that tonight too.
Totally. And then to be able to take that next later with the annex and then provide the people that need the help and the support with the information they need to get the support.
Right.
Like that's so amazing.
Yeah.
So,
well,
anyways.
I agree with you. So
yeah.
We've got a few other things I wanted to make sure we covered tonight. They're not all as serious as what we just did. Emily asked, what's the estimated population of the Unhoused? It's just under 100 in St. Thomas, or it was before we opened the Rail City Lofts, which gave 16 people permanent housing. So with the 60 new units we're building on the Queen Street project, that will take a lot more off the unhoused. But there's a lot of underhoused people. There's a lot of people who are staying in situations they shouldn't because there isn't another place to go. So can we reach zero? Boy, the mayor would love to get there. But I think what we need to do is keep working on those that are unhoused and move forward. So Emily, thank you for your question tonight on that, because I really like to share that. That is why this council's got so crazy, and I don't mean that in a bad way, about housing, that we've said this is our responsibility in this community. Let's continue to work on the different levels of housing that we need in this community, specifically the supportive housing. But you just heard Don talk about the annex, and someone who comes forward and over time finally becomes clean, is not addicted anymore, but has gone through detox and rehab. Wouldn't it be real good if we had a place for them to go at that time, rather than back into the whole mix that they were in that helped feed the addiction? So it's our job to help us, and all of us in the city of St. Thomas, to help with that. So thank you for that question. What do we got?
I just love that.
Yeah. This is
that and the transportation that we talked about. So you have housing, and then you have transportation to get where you need.
Yeah.
And then
what
I just shared
employment, family. So many good things happen kind of after that line. So
yeah.
You know,
and
this
if
is
anyone missed it,
Profit Week, and what a great week to have Ginny and Don on to talk about their charity. But this is the week we set aside each year to recognize all of the not-for-profits out there that help our communities, the people that volunteer and don't ask for anything in it or of it. So think of all of the not-for-profits that we can all assist. And they don't all have to be street level. There's lots of, the United Way needs all the help it can get. It's not absolutely street level. It helps there, but so let's work about that. Braden, there's a RFP out for a new piece of artwork on a roundabout.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, it's on the city website for a roundabout we're planning at Keynes and St. Catharines. So
this is very good to know.
I believe that this RFP closes about March 15th. So all of you artists out there that would love to contribute, and we're really trying to share with as many as we can. The Public Art Committee asked me to make sure we said this on Mayor's Update this week, so we did. So you have to go to the city website and maybe work that funnel. And if you can't find it, please, we're going to put
we get
a link to it maybe after the show, but it'll be in the comments of this. I just wanted to also notice that tonight the Kettle Creek Conservation Authority and the groups are suggesting it may be a flood watch, so be careful. Certainly Port Stanley may be more than St. Thomas, but low-lying areas in St. Thomas are always affected by that too. So perfect. I wanted to let you know to perhaps start the ARC if that's what you think we need to do. I'll help you with the gathering of the two of each. Joe's new haircut today. You can look on my website and see I finally got rid of the mullet. It was getting quite bad through this last little bit of COVID. So, Reed, you have anything up this week?
Yes, the Victoria Order of Nurses messaged me, and they're looking for volunteers to help drive people to get groceries and also to doctor's appointments. So this is one of the things we've talked about previously in terms of St. Thomas. Getting transportation to these places. It's one of these items that's hidden poverty in our community. If you have a house, but you don't have a car to get somewhere to get your groceries or go to a doctor's appointment. So they need volunteers to help people do that in our community.
Right. Well, and the VON also does the lunches, mobile lunches. And look, there's lots of places you can help. So please, VON's asking this week, and it's something you can do. Please help all you can and tell others that can. I mean, we go through a series almost every week of whether it's Snow Angels or helping with a certain event. Right. There's something for you to do to keep you busy too. And the city is thankful that we have the great volunteers that we do. So help out the VON this week.
Absolutely.
Or every week.
And what was happening at council this week?
Oh, I got a few things pretty quickly if you want me to. Well, one of the first reports, Daniel Nielsen, our homeless coordinator or housing coordinator, gave us a presentation on the CHIPI, the Canadian Housing Investment Plan. We always forget what CHIPI stands for, but the city of St. Thomas gets given a fairly large sum of funds that we distribute by need in St. Thomas. So whether it's to the YWCA for the people they house, or the Youth Unlimited for our youth, from a youth homeless point of view, or from the inn, and there's a distribution piece through CHIPI, but there's also, as part of the plan, there's emergency. I can't pay my hydro bill this week, or I'm overdue on my rent, or I need first and last to try and get into housing. And some of this funding goes through our housing at St. Thomas to help do this too. So a really good report for us to see where we're really helping at the housing department. A few other this week of removal of temporary lot plan control, so some houses can get started. Draft plan approval on the Shawside development piece, so that more housing can get. You see a trend here?
Certainly do. It has something to do with housing.
We want to start as many housing units as we possibly can, apartments, single family homes, whatever we can do, because getting the supply will also decrease the affordability or increase the affordability. Until we have enough supply, prices will always be high. That's straight economics. So we'll continue to, as a city, to adjust those as much as we can. Also report about childcare and early years workplace funding from a childcare point of view. We reviewed a number of the city parking lots downtown for a couple reasons. We have two things that happens in our parking lots, and that is permit parking lots, where someone can assign a permit to a spot and it's 24/7, or you can park for 2 hours and you then have to move, or you might get a ticket from one of our great bylaw officers. So we're looking at how many vacant 2-hour parking spots we had as a general rule. And this changes a lot, winter to summer, COVID to non-COVID. So we'll keep reviewing it. But I think we switched the number of parking spots, or have now asked to change them to full-time parking. This also allows us, because many of the apartments downtown don't come with a parking spot, or aren't built with parking lots. Right. So if they can assign or get themselves a parking spot, if they have a car, and we've changed some of our 2-hour parking to full-time parking, it also helps. We talked to the downtown group and many independent individual build businesses. What do you think about this? If we take 2 2-hour parking spots out of there. So that's just trying to read questions as I go. The Kinsman had asked us for, can we sell fireworks? Can we store our truck at the arena? And a number of questions that we did. We said yes to everything, but I think our fire chief said no to 1 day extra of sales, because we have a law in town that you can't set fireworks off but 7 days around the May 24th and the July 1st meeting. Somebody's asking me, what is going on beside 330 Talbot? What is 330 Talbot? Does anybody know?
Find out.
All right. All right. Some discussion at council this week about pandemic financial support for our police department. I mean, many things have come up that require extra funding during our COVID pandemic, and we're asking the province to help us with all this, and most of them do that also. Well, if we're talking about the building that has the, it says Skyline here, so I'm assuming there is the old Municipal World office building that has been empty and vacant since I moved to St. Thomas, and we had that as one of our trivia questions 32 years ago. And we finally have an owner that is going to turn that into some housing and fix it up. There's a number of orders against the site because some of the bricks are falling off the back and such. And so we need to make sure that we move it in the right direction, but as quickly as you can. Again, housing. And there's a few other downtown apartment pieces that are coming along. And I heard we'll share at a future show some more of these that are now really soliding up of larger apartment buildings and some more housing in our community. I think we talked a couple weeks ago that St. Thomas is growing at about 1,000 people a year. And so therefore housing for at least 500, we think is the right estimate. And so we have to have the building permit piece for 500 houses in every year. Well, we're on into February of 22, and we're already moving along very, very, very well. So it's great. We won't stop if you don't stop. St. Thomas will continue to grow, and every one of those people coming to St. Thomas needs a job, needs a place to live, and many come with jobs. So that part, the job part's easy. 330 is the empty lot beside Grace Cafe. It's that where there's the wooden front on where a building was taken out. I want to say Maestro Music, but that may have been the building next door. Anyway, everybody owns a property. Somebody owns that property, and we continue to offer incentives and plans for people to build on every piece of property that will help us with housing. So if you're listening tonight, you own that piece of property. Why are you letting it sit empty? Right? I mean, truly, come to us. Let's work together. What can we do instead? So, no, Ginny says 330 is across. Either way, it's we're working on each of those empty spots down there now, and as we've started to notice, there is getting to be less and less empty storefronts in St. Thomas, and we'll continue to try and help people do that. But it's not so much the empty storefront with a new business in it. That's fantastic for the economy and that person as an entrepreneur, but it's the apartments above them and behind them that make a huge difference in our community. So we will continue to push that to happen. That's pretty much all I've got on council from last week. So it's again a lot about housing, but also some pretty good homelessness and childcare reports too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a lot.
Well, this was a great night. So, Janet says that. What a night. Thanks for tonight. Well, I sometimes you surprise yourself. You get the right topic and you find the right people, and it really does work well. I want to congratulate Graydon. He helps a lot with helping set up some of our guests or the plan of how it will look.
I like being behind the scenes.
Yeah,
that's my favorite thing. I come in front when I have to, but I'm a visual artist more than a vocal artist. I don't, words are not always my strong point.
Okay, Emily asked me, do you have stats on people moving into our area? Seeing retirees moving here who need healthcare versus jobs. I keep hearing that, but much like some of the other things we hear in our community, about 1,000 people migrated to Elgin County in the last couple of years each year, and we expect that to stay that way. But the average age migrating here is very young. It's very young families. It's 30-year-olds. And I think the second biggest age group that moved into our area was 0. That means newborns, right? So, yeah, we're perhaps along the lake and perhaps some other places, and maybe even here, we're getting some people who have retired other places and moving to St. Thomas because it's a beautiful place full of murals and artwork and stuff. Okay, could be, right? But from the real stats we're getting, that's not necessarily the case. We're getting more people who are moving here that are already functioning in a job, already have a job. And so we're not supporting them in any way, but finding them a beautiful single family home. Love it. That's happening really easily with our builders. But what we've had to change over the last 4 years is building more purpose rent, looking for a way to make more things affordable. And that will suit the needs of the people that already live here and any others that come. So we'll continue to keep you. Please ask those questions. We've got a mayor's happy hour coming up with the chamber where I get to just spew a lot of that kind of stuff of how good St. Thomas is doing.
Speaking of questions, we've got a question in terms of trivia for entering into. I can't speak tonight at all. I don't know what's up with me. But for entering into the draw, I think.
What do you got for trivia tonight?
How long has the Grace Cafe been around for?
Right.
How many years?
Yeah.
And for the people that have stuck around with us, you will get entered into the draw for this fine art print of Jumbo, which we've talked about before.
Right.
So
for all the February shows, each show we do, you get your name in, and at the end of February, we will reward that to a certain charity for you. No, we'll give it to you. You'll honestly win it. I see Matt saying thank you to the art gallery last week. Matt, thank you for what you do in our community too, and there's lots of people like Matt who do a lot of volunteering in our community too. So, somebody's asking me for a sidewalk on Sunset. Yes, please. Love to. We've got to be able to do the engineering properly for that to happen. Sunset was never built as a road that now probably needs to be four lanes wide. We also we have a lot of construction happening in the south end, either whether it's Shaw Valley or along Southdale with many of the other builders. And we have to make Sunset fit that, make it work. So we're trying to get to, we will answer that question more fully this year. And I hope we even start on it. Yeah, right. There are many students walking there. Yeah, that was kind of the purpose that the Whistle Stop Trail was put in. So the students would not have to go out to Sunset and walk on a street without sidewalks, but the Whistle Stop Trail leads right down from the school, from John Wise School, or sorry, it is John Wise there, isn't it? And there's a complete off-street walking area there too. So we do ask that people do that too. All right. I want to just share one more thing tonight. It's supposed to snow a fair bit tonight. And I'm quite proud of how the roads crew has done this year. First of all, busy streets. Second, a little less busy streets. Probably repeating the busy streets so the buses have a place to run. And if Jenny, thank you. If it stays just rain, I'll be so happy. But if not, then please go to our website at the city and look up winter maintenance, and it tells you the order we kind of do streets in, and then that A day later, perhaps, if we can get to them earlier, great. Sidewalks are done. But almost never is a sidewalk done with one trip. It takes a couple more trips. And then when we get weather like we might get tonight, where it rains a lot and then it snows, it's slippery on those streets and sidewalks. So please be careful. We'll do our roads crew is fantastic. They do their best to get to it as quickly as they possibly can. And we can't stand around right now with a shovel while it's raining and hope that helps, right? We kind of have to follow the weather patterns, and when the snow falls, we start on the main streets and do what we need to do. Anything else? Anybody else? Nobody's answered the question about when did Grace Cafe, how many years has Grace Cafe been open in our community? I guess we won't have an entry tonight. We may get to add another week to the whole month of winning the beautiful jumbo painting that Graydon did. So,
and I've got I downloaded a raffle app, so it's called Lucky Draw. So you've got
an app for everything.
You have to these days. That's the way it works.
Emily Parsons.
There we go. She's in. She got it.
We have an entry from tonight. Thank you, Emily, and thank you for paying attention. This is part of the growing. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna pop in Emily Parsons Johnson as the third person. So Matt Sharp and Sharon Montgomery Anderson are the other two people that are in for the draw.
Perfect. And you can win twice if you're really smart, Emily. You could enter every week and have more chances to win the beautiful painting. We'll have to figure out what the prize will be from now on. I like this giving things away.
It's great.
But you know what the mayor likes even more? Is being able to answer the questions like this live and in person on Mayor's Update every Wednesday night. I get into some really good conversations on Facebook in the middle of the week of stuff we just answered, right?
Yeah.
And so I tend to say, hey, why don't you watch Mayor's Update? And you don't have to be here Wednesday night because we run it. It's out there. Graydon, we had over 1,100 people watch Mayor's Update last week, right? Yeah. Up until this morning, right?
What I love is you have the live viewers, and then you have about 1,000 people that will watch it after it goes live.
Right. Well, I've kind of gotten a little worse because some people aren't so friendly and want to tell me what they think, and I say, well, I could tell you the answer, but that was discussed on a Mayor's Update about 2 weeks ago, and they're all there on established media. Why don't you go take a look? And so we get people even watching the past episodes. That great way to go.
Well, that's something like this episode. I feel it's kind of a historic moment. Yeah. We're talking to the folks behind the annex before the annex gets rolling. And then they've mentioned that they want to come back on once it's opened up and talk a little bit more about it, maybe in April. Yeah. So we'll have them back again. And these are snippets. And personally, as someone who loves history, local history and all of that, we're going to have these moments recorded now, these amazing things that are happening in our community. And we're going to be able to look back at this for decades and be like, these are the people that started this. Or did this, and this is what they were thinking and saying. And how
remember that night we talked about it, and it was
right.
We were having the drywall delivered that week. Yeah, well, and they were, by the way, drywall was delivered this week. We also have a number of counselors we still haven't had on the show.
We got to get them on
before there's a mutiny on council. We have to. I think we may have to do two, right? And get.
I think that's great.
Right. You need to get to know this great council I've been working with. They really only kind of pop up Monday night sometime and do the council work. That's what they're supposed to do. But we really want to share their thoughts and ideas with all of you too. The mayor will have to get out there and start scheduling the. Okay, who's coming on? Right?
You really got to rope them. We got to rope them into it. Sometimes I think that's the key.
All right, Graydon. Well, thank you for tonight's show.
Likewise,
it was great to watch the numbers roll up this past week, up over 1,000 through the week. And as you say, I don't know how many are going to established media and looking at old shows to get answers about what how do you do your streets or some of the other city questions that we've had. But I'll have the 23rd, I think it's mayor's happy hour with the mayors of Southwold and Central Elgin. And I'll have a bunch kind of more facts and figures about how we're doing and how great St. Thomas is doing. We talked about its growth from a population point of view, but we'll use some of that on a mayor's update so that we get it on record, and you can go look that up too when you need to.
Mm-hmm. That is perfect. All right, Mayor Joe, thanks again. And thanks to all our sponsors who help make this possible, all the viewers that watch every week, and everybody who joins us on this community forum to talk about our municipal politics and what's happening.
Wait, I want to share about Tammy. She did the hair.
Perfect.
And there was a big bushel basket of hair that came up. Right. Anyway, so Tammy at Studio 36. I said I'd mention her on Mayor's Update. So.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you, Tammy, for making our mayor look respectable.
Well, yeah, it's as good as you can do with what he's got to work with. All right.
Have a great night, everybody.